Hello everyone and welcome to the Vinyl Groove on the CDJ newsletter. This is the video segment of it. This is basically about vinyl records and why a DJ should perhaps try and learn, new DJs especially, try and learn on vinyl as well. While you do all your digital DJing, which is basically the in thing, vinyl goes back many decades, and it's a big part of DJing. And in this segment I wish to share with you 5 main reasons why I think, and most DJs would think, that DJing from vinyl as well are vital. So as vinyl DJs, guys like ourselves from back in the day, obviously we didn't carry any hard disks like this. Nor did we have USB sticks like this, which, you could carry a lot of music. But what we would do is we would actually have a few of these record crates, and something like this, each of this would carry approximately 60 to 65 records. And on this we would have just one song, so just basically a single. And a single is really one track with multiple versions. And when you're doing that, so all you have is maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 of these boxes. Each box has about 60-65 records. So 60 or 65 records, let's say you're carrying 4 boxes, you're having a maximum of about 250, let's say 300 records at the very most, and that's about 300 songs. So as opposed to carrying this many tracks today, and back then we wouldn't carry that much of music. But what we did do is go into a lot of detail in terms of the function, in terms of the wedding or the party or the event. We would carefully choose the music that we need, because in my case, I may have thousands and thousands of records, but I'm not going to carry all that to go and play at a gig. So the pre-preparation for any event would be to carefully choose your music. So one of the main reasons I think that new DJs should try and learn a little bit of vinyl is, when you do play off vinyl, you are very selective in the music that you want to take with you. Unlike a hard drive where you have ample music in your fingertips, when you're playing off vinyl, all you will have is the records that you take. So you have to be very choosy in terms of what you take. Okay, reason number 2. Okay, unlike with digital files, and like most of you guys would know, digital files, you got the waveform. And with the waveform, you kind of know the breaks, the intros, the outros, the vocal parts, the deep bass lines, all that you kind of see on your waveform. Now, with vinyl, you're not going to see any waveform, especially like, just take a typical console like this, there's no waveform being shown. So with vinyl, all you are going to have is, let's say, the grooves like this. The grooves. So what do you learn from this groove? What do you see in this groove, like on a waveform? This in itself makes you engage with this record. By placing it on the turntable, needle on the record, you're listening to this, you're involved with the record. You are taking the sleeve, you kind of read the credits, you know what's going into this, who produced it, who's singing it. Now with a digital file, I know that most of us, even myself right now, when I get or download a digital file, I'm not hugely into who's involved in the track on back end, like its producer, its artist label, etc. But with a vinyl record, it's the information is kind of there, and also you are engaging with this record while you are playing it. And that is a very important part of DJing, because unlike just looking at waveforms, and when you are involved in the grooves of this record, you are involved with the music. It's something you kind of need to experience. And when you do that, you get very acquainted with the track. You learn this track a lot more in terms of it. In your mind, the piece of music sticks in better because you're not aided by any visual or any computer screen or any digital screen to know where you are. This song sticks in your mind a lot more when you actually engage with the piece of vinyl. Reason number 3. Now there's this famous saying that goes, if you can drive a manual car, you can drive anything else, or you can drive an automatic. But not everybody who drives an automatic can perhaps drive a shift gear or a manual. Now, in DJing with vinyl, there's also saying that if you can beat mix and play pretty well off vinyl without the aid of any visual element, you will be good on any other piece of equipment, digital or otherwise. So one of the things we used to do back in the day would be, like, if you take all my records, I would kind of have the BPM, the beats per minute, written. So this is 100 BPM, just, you know, these are all 100 BPM, the other song is 77, etc. So most of the records would have the BPM. So that would be kind of your aid or your guide, just like on the digital screen, it will give you your beats per minute, etc. So on records back in the day, we would mark our BPM. So just to mark this BPM, it engages you with the song, because when we didn't have digital software, etc., to mark the BPM, what we would do is we'd play the song, actually counts the beats per minute within that 60-second period and put it on there. So that is exactly how we would do it way before the digital era was in progress. So that is how we would mark our beats per minute. Now that alone engages you with the track. And being able to beat mix on this analog format involves you so much in terms of pitch bending, you know, acceleration and braking, and the manipulation of the pitch control. All this movement really engages you when you are trying to beat mix on vinyl. The focus is a lot more. And by being able to do that on this analog form, you will be sure that you could do it on any digital form. So another good reason to try and getting into learning to beat mix, beat match on vinyl is that it engages you, it teaches you some of the basic skills. And when you think of DJing from back in the early 70s, it was all analog, it was all like this. And it kind of connects you to the roots of your craft. So there again, it's an important thing, I think. As modern day DJs, when we get involved with the past, it connects us to something, you know, that were the building blocks of DJing from way back in the day. So that's reason number 3. So reason number 4 is something I think it's very special. It's what we call dexterity, or the skill. Singaling කියනවා දක්ෂතාවය. It's a very, very important thing in DJing overall. It is your feel when you're DJing, how you feel the platter, or in CDJs, in CD players, the jog wheels, and you know, so on turntables, the platter, the manipulation of the fader, the crossfader, all this, the placing of the needle, all that. So when you are DJing with vinyl, this dexterity, the movement of your hands, the coordination between your left hand and your right hand, your left hand with your right brain, or your right hand with your left brain, all this kind of comes together because the amount of focus and getting into the zone of DJing, getting into the zone of mixing music is far greater on this analog format. So if I'm to give you an example, let's take this, a track that most of us are probably familiar with, a 90s track. Here comes the hot stepper. So when you take this piece of vinyl, right, these are 12-inch. A 12-inch has only one song and multiple versions, like I said. Now right here, I've made some markings. This is side 1, so I've made some markings, and that is to help me play certain parts when I need them. It's kind of like the hot cues that we have today on digital equipment. So this actually has an a cappella version, it has the instrumental version. So all this in one record, all this basically on one piece of music. So it engages me into a higher zone of creativity, because I can pull out my a cappella, I can include my instrumental when and where I want, and it kind of gets you thinking about a lot more, in a much more deeper sense when you are playing with vinyl. And it is something that you kind of need to experience. It's not, don't take my word for it. If you actually start playing with vinyl, you will understand what I mean. And when it comes to DJing, creativity is a very, very important part. And today there's a lot of softwares that help you become creative. In this format, in the olden days, there were no softwares that would help you become creative. So by going back in time a little bit and going back into the roots of DJing, this kind of shows you how to get creative without the software. And that is where creativity, or nirmanashilitva, that elite element is something that's very important in DJing. And I know for a fact that DJing with vinyl brings out that element. It engages you into that zone of creative thinking, and on-the-fly creative thinking. Nothing's too pre-planned and practiced or dragged and dropped. It's all on-the-fly creativity that vinyl actually engages you into. So try it. So that's reason number 4. Okay, so finally, reason number 5. So when you're playing analog, we don't have these buttons that you can, when you're coming to the end of a song, you can press something and it kind of takes you back. If you're not ready with your second song or your next track, when you're coming to an end of a track, you can't really go back. So if you just take a typical record that probably you guys are familiar with, Fat Man Scoop, Be Faithful. This track is just 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So before you know it, we've cut this in and it's almost finished. So now if you're playing this track, you are by no means going to be able to press some button and loop it, or press another button and hot cue it backwards. None of that's going to happen. So when this plays and comes to the end, the song is finishing and you have to be ready on this side. So when it's something like this, your options are very limited. You are more so in the zone. You are more so engaged with what you are DJing, and you're more so engaged with the whole craft, the song, the track, the next track. You're very engaged with it. Doesn't mean that I have not played out where the song has ended. Everybody has. But it means that a press of a button, you can't just go back, or you can't just loop it and keep it going until you're ready with your next track. So that also engages you with the whole art of DJing. So when you're playing with vinyl, that's one of the key things. It engages you. You really got to be in the zone, on point. And you have to be careful, because this needle can jump around. Unlike in Serato or Record Box and Tractor VDJ, etc., there's nothing that can jump. The needles will not jump groove, but on vinyl it will. So it is a much harder medium to be good at, but it is a very engaging medium. And that's really the point of this video, where don't give up your DJing on digital. That is perhaps bread and butter, and do not stop that. But as digital DJs, try and engage into the vinyl groove. Because when you do that, you will see that you get a benefit that digital cannot give you. I hope this segment was useful, and thank you for being a part of the CDJA's newsletter, and we will be having many more issues coming out every quarter. Thank you.